Unc Uja Seneb. I am Sba Heru-Ka Anu, leader of the Tenefa community, and I welcome you to KemetWay Outreach, our video blog. In this segment, I'm going to address the subject of the Kemetic Way of Life, or KemetWay, the Black Power movement, and the Black agenda. And in this segment, I am contending that it is the Kemetic Way of Life system that is needed to empower the Black Power movement, to empower and guide the Black Power movement and the Black agenda if we are to be successful. I am contending that the Black Power movement and the Black agenda can guide us to freedom and independence, but no further. And that it is much further that we have to go, that the Kemetic Way of Life system is able to take us. Essentially, the Black Power movement speaks to the approach or the approaches we use to achieve the goals and objectives of the Black agenda. And the Black Power movement, or we define Black Power is the capacity to defeat white power. It is the capacity and the actions of neutralizing white domination. Black Power is the capacity to realize Black independence and freedom, and to maintain that independence and that freedom. Now, the Black agenda. The Black agenda is a fundamental commitment to and a formula for restoring the independence, sovereignty, unity, and self-reliance of African people, or Black people, globally. And some of the tenets of the Black agenda includes, for example, access to and control of the resources that we depend upon for our survival and development. It includes adherence to race first, or that is Black self-interest first, pursuit, support, and maintenance of Black health and well-being in all areas of our lives, the institutionalization of the African cultural paradigm. It includes Black people assuming a rightful and authoritative place on the world stage, and African presence in the world free and secure from oppression and the threat thereof. So in short, the Black agenda is a commitment to the holistic global restoration, or restoration of Black people. And we're talking about Black civilization and Black society. Yet the Black agenda does not speak specifically to or in depth of, as in defining civilization or society. It calls for the institutionalization of the African cultural paradigm, but it doesn't critically define it. And what I'm saying here is that the Kemetic Way of Life does define this particular paradigm, and it is this particular paradigm, that the Kemetic Way of Life is an African cultural paradigm, and that it is this paradigm, this global or holistic system, that is necessary for informing and guiding the Black agenda and the Black Power movement. That the Kemetic Way of Life is, as a civilization, is Africa's third oldest civilization. And as a civilization, we're talking about something that is holistic, and that civilizations such as the Kemetic Way of Life gives possibility and context to society. In other words, it's the civilization that is the structure upon which we're able to build societies. And so my contention is that the Black agenda and the Black Power movement lack the what is necessary in defining the system for a society, and that it is in the Kemetic way of life, or KemetWay as we call it, that we're able to get that structure for achieving society. So that once we come into freedom, let's say freedom and independence, the question is, what do we do in reconstructing ourselves in the way of societies, and what civilization do we use in doing so? So that the Kemetic way of life as a system for improving the way of life does just that. The Kemetic way of life is a super system, as I define it, that is composed of four subsystems that give context and that define the society and the way of life. And those four systems are, and I'll define them by way of the Kemetic way that we define it. So one is the way of Asar. And the way of Asar is the system for generating abundance and prosperity, or you may say it is the economic system. And this is the system that defines how we engage in taking care of each other. The next system is the system that is known as the way of Ma'at. And the way of Ma'at is the system for establishing moral law and cosmic order and balance. In other words, this is the system that is used for defining our relationships to each other and to creation as a whole. So it defines our relationship to everything. And then the third system, the way of Atum, is the rites of passage system. And this is the system that defines our responsibilities from the womb to the tomb. In other words, what each and every one of us are responsible to do as individuals and what we're responsible to do as a collective in establishing and maintaining our society and civilization. And then the fourth system, the way of Ankh, that we also call Kemetic spirituality, is the system for communicating, interacting, and living powerfully with creation. And this is the system that defines what we do with our capacity, our resources, our ability, our genius, our intellect, and the resources in creating and generating our civilization, our society, and how we interact with every aspect of creation. So as a whole, these four subsystems make up this super system, and it is this super system that enables us to reconstruct society and establish society. And also it is this super system that can effectively guide the Black Power movement and effectively guide the Black agenda in the way that would allow us to be successful beyond just simply establishing independence and sovereignty. And this is important for us to understand, because when we look at historically at aspects of the Black Power movement and the Black agenda, there's a lesson for us here. For example, Ghana, when Ghana came into independence in 1957 under the great Kwame Nkrumah, one of the things that Nkrumah subsequently wrote about was that even though his country came into political independence, the mentality of the people still were under colonial domination. In other words, the country had come into freedom and sovereignty, and Black folks were now occupying the offices of president and, leadership and the like. However, the cultural guide in the society was still that of the white paradigm, and it had not been replaced. And we see that paradigm in action in South Africa right now, even where you have the Black administrators banning Black people, banning African people from wearing their hair in African styles. So in other words, we have Negro Africans is what I'm calling them. Negro Africans banning Africans from being African in their own African environment. It's similar to what we have here in Negroes in terms of the Negro agenda versus the Black agenda, where we have Negroes appending themselves to the agenda of white people to further their goals and aims at the expense of the Black agenda. So this is an important thing for us to understand, that the Kemetic way of life is the African cultural paradigm, that we need to ensure that we not only are moving to freedom and sovereignty, but that we are achieving it as Black people, as we're achieving it as African people, and not simply as a body of people coming to replace white people in situations where we end up being caricatures of white people. So I hope that you get the point that I'm making on the Kemetic way of life and the Black Power movement and the Black agenda, and that it will cause you to look deeper at the Black Power movement, the Black agenda, and look deeper specifically at the Kemetic way of life. And I invite you to visit us at our website, KemetWay, not KemetWay.com, that's one of our sites, but at taneferank.com, that's www.taneferank.com, taneferank.com, to learn more about what we are doing with respect to re-establishing the way of life, the African cultural paradigm, through the Kemetic way of life. And so with that, I'm going to say to you, Ankh Uja Seneb.